of misophonia experts. Now, recently, I've been seeing a lot more people on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, hell, all of it, all of the internet sphere, of people claiming to be experts on misophonia. Do you see my face? Do you see my reaction? There are no experts for misophonia. I mean, how do you even define an expert for something? I guess someone who has years and years and years of experience dealing with the disorder, maybe. There's a couple people I would put almost to expert level, but even they, see, here's the difference. The people I know who could be experts would look me in the face and say, please don't call me an expert. There's not enough research. This is a developing disorder. We don't even have the brain mechanisms down. There can't be an expert. And these are the people who know the disorder inside and out, have been working on it for 20 years and longer, and they refuse to be called an expert. So when I see people who recently started practicing on misophonia, maybe in the last 5 years or so, and they want to label themselves as an expert in their tag or on their website, and this is crazy to me. And not only is it crazy, it's disturbing. It's disturbing that these people have such a lack of ethics that they think that it's okay to define themselves as an expert. And that's really disingenuous. It's really sad. It's heartbreaking because they are trying to trick people into thinking that there is a such thing as an expert on misophonia. I'm not an expert. Hell, there's doctors out there who've worked on this for years. They're not experts. I mean, they're as close as you can be, and they are brilliant people. But the word expert implies this amount of knowledge that can't exist. When we look at Kumar's research, specifically for the brain basis of misophonia, there's some great research emerging, but what it does point out is we don't know the specifics. There's evidence that it's a neurophysiological disorder, not cognitive. And ironically, a lot of these experts somehow are cognitive therapists. Some of them aren't even traditional therapists. They work in different fields. They're behavioral analysts, which is cognitive, or they're hypnotherapists, blah, blah, blah. And all I'm going to say is, how are you an expert on something that A, might not even be within your scope of practice as a disorder? It might not be cognitive, or even if it does become known to be something, probably neurophysiological, you know, the epigenetics of it being both genetic and learned, all of that kind of coming together. Even once we know, we're still a long way from treatment. So what are you an expert in? There are no approved treatments for misophonia. Are you saying you're an expert on knowledge of your field in misophonia? Okay, but I highly doubt that's been researched, since there's very few research studies out there at all. So I highly doubt that hypnotherapy has been studied for misophonia. I mean, I know it hasn't. And there might be a few like one-off studies from people who paid to be published. And let's be real, a lot of these people who do get published, who aren't, you know, who want to be known as an expert, who want the public to really think, oh, this is an expert. These people are not getting published in good journals. They are just paying for it. And I mean, academia is at a disturbing point where it's really hard to get good studies funded. Almost impossible. Some are, honestly, some are. In the past few years, there's been a huge push, and I really want to thank the people that have been doing it. But there are also a lot of people just like writing these bogus studies, doing the minimum amount of work, and then pushing it out to this pay to be published journal, and then getting it out there, and then saying, look at me, I'm an expert, I'm an expert. And not everyone who says they're an expert is doing this, but there are people who have licenses, even like therapists, etc., who are saying either they have a treatment or that they have an expertise in misophonia. I don't know how this is true, because I've been in this community for almost 10 years. And I'll tell you this, the only people I know who I would consider an expert would be disgusted if you started referring to them as an expert, because they would say, okay, look, we need to be mindful of this disorder. We need to be mindful that it's developing. And like, I think it's disturbing that there are people out there who want you to think of them as an expert when this disorder does not have enough evidence to have a lot of experts. Now, there are people who have been working on this a long time. And I mean, I'm not naming names because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. But we've worked with a lot of them. We try to bring in people who are actually on the forefront. We're really big with researchers who are backed by actual institutions who, you know, they're doing rigorous studies with rigorous peer reviews that really follow the scientific spirit and are getting us to a place of actually understanding this disorder. But I mean, we're in a place where we don't even know why the sounds are the sounds that trigger people. Like, so how can you be an expert on that when we don't even know like why chewing or whistling are triggers? Like, we don't know why that fight flight response is happening yet. We know that there is a motor basis, we know that there is a fight flight response, but we don't know why. And if we don't know why the disorder is happening, how are you an expert? Like, what are you an expert on? And if there's no treatment, like, there are coping skills can help. I'm not saying that things like hypnotherapy can't be a coping skill. They can help people feel better. They can help you deal with maybe the emotional parts. Even therapists, you know, they can help with maybe the anxiety and depression you're feeling around the misophonia. It's not the fight flight response, but it's your reaction to it. You are a holistic human being. You have lots of thoughts and feelings that come with things that you can work on. Fine. But to say you are an expert on misophonia, how? Where did you go to school for this? The internet? Because there's nothing exists. You can do a degree right now in psychology and never once hear the word misophonia. In fact, if you did hear the word misophonia, I would be surprised. It's probably because a student brought it up that has it and said, hey, why aren't we looking at this? Like, there are no experts. I'm sorry. And the people who are experts or are close to being an expert are not going to be out there putting expert in their social media tag, because that's disgusting and it's unethical. And if a practitioner is calling themselves an expert in misophonia, honestly, I'm going to tell you that they're probably not a great practitioner, because what kind of narcissist puts expert in their damn social media tag? Like, stop doing that. All you are telling the world is that you suck. I'm sorry for my language today, but stop lying to people, okay? If you're a practitioner, don't tell people you're an expert. Tell people, hey, you know, I can help you cope. Maybe I can try my best. We'll work together. We can try to find some coping skills. I'm here to support you. But the word expert in itself, even if you are an expert in something, it's demeaning to the other person to tell them that you know everything about something. And then when it comes to misophonia, when there's no way they do know everything, that this is just wrong. I'm sorry, it's just wrong. There are no experts for misophonia. There is no treatment. If a practitioner is telling you they're an expert with a treatment, run to the hills and report them to their licensing board, because that's not okay.